when they see the practitioners on the table getting adjusted or getting a session, and it's
Shocked.
it's actually the funniest thing to us because I think they think at some point we don't get adjusted anymore because we don't need to.
It's like, I think they think that there becomes a point where your life, you no longer need to regulate or something. So whenever they even see me in like the little cubby area and I'm like, oh, I just got adjusted, they're like, oh, is everything good? I'm like,
Or
yeah.
you did?
I'm like, every week. Yeah. So I think that's what we're going to be talking about today, just with this video of like why we get adjusted, how often we get adjusted, kind of debunking the whole myth that like I plan on getting adjusted for my entire life. It's pretty amazing for me. I don't know why I would stop.
And I understand why people think that, because at the beginning of my healing journey, I thought that at some point my symptoms would go away or whatever would stop. And that's just the farthest thing from the truth. So the intention of this video is to explain what it looks like for us 10 plus years in, why we get weekly sessions, bi-monthly sessions, what it is to us at this point, the shift of it. But also there's so much more past symptoms, so much more on a healing journey than I ever thought.
Yeah, I think we should start with how often we get adjusted, because I think that, and I think the two of us particularly like make it a point, at least for me, every single week, and it's something I actually look forward to every week. And how often we get adjusted, why we get adjusted. So I'd love to hear from you first. Like I mean, I adjust you like every week, so it's like no shocker, no surprise, but fill us in on that.
Okay, it's very rare if I don't get adjusted at least 15 minutes a week. I would say at this point, if I don't get adjusted one week, I'll be getting a double session the next week. This is just at this point in my life, like I want to grow, I want to evolve, I want to be my best self, and that's where the adjustment or this neural integration session, we can call it many different things, and we'll talk about that, fits into my life as far as alignment of supporting me on my journey. It's just an escalated unfolding, I'll
Yeah,
say.
yeah. And I think that in the beginning, people think like, I'm getting adjusted. This is where we really shift their paradigms, but they, especially when we're getting adjusted, but they come in and it's really finite for a symptom or anxiety or something's going on. And then on the other side of that, I think that for me, at least, whenever I started getting adjusted, I realized I was like, I'm regulating at a much higher level with somebody facilitating this healing with me. And I think I started to realize that a lot of those blind spots never stop for people. Like life doesn't stop. The challenges actually never stop, but your adaptability through them changes totally. So I think that people think that for us, we're like immune to stress, immune to anxiety, immune to all these things. And it's like, no, we just have really good tools and a really good support team. So I get adjusted like every week. And if I don't get adjusted, like
You just got adjusted.
yeah, literally like 5 minutes before this,
She's got the adjustment face still on.
I'm like, I'll be in that cubby area and talking to people, and I'm like, I'm kind of in post-adjustment brain, and they're like, oh, you still feel this? I'm like, yes. Yes. But if like when we went on vacation like a couple weeks ago, obviously we didn't really get adjusted. Like we were gone for like 10 days. And I remember the first time I got adjusted, I'm like, I feel good. And then I got adjusted that like exact Monday, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so relaxed. Like I didn't realize what I had been carrying. So I think for me at this point, this is about finding blind spots. In the beginning, it was about something completely different. I think whenever I first started coming in, I was really all about like self-regulation. And even before I joined this kind of practice, like I was meditating all the time. And I was like, I got it under control. But then like something would happen in my life, like stuff would hit the fan, so to speak. And I'd be like, oh, meditate more. And it wasn't really like this like internal level of stability that
Deeper.
yes, it was just like I could manage the surface level stuff like really well on my own, but through this adjustment process, like something in me started to change, and we call that bandwidth, but my bandwidth essentially started increasing, and then these things started to fall within my bandwidth, and I was like, this is a game changer. It's not just navigating little things here and there and just kind of like, okay, we're moving on, we're good. It's like I'm integrating these things. I'm letting these things move through me now. So it's been such a beautiful experience for me personally.
Integration is the key word, and that's what we're going to dive into more. But
Yeah.
for my journey, like I got exposed to traditional chiropractic when I was 21, and it was like life changing for me to understand that the body heals itself, self-regulating, self-maintaining, what symptoms meant, everything's connected in the body. It was like, whoa, I wish I had known this my entire life, because this would have changed everything for me. And from there, I began traditional chiropractic care and working on my nutrition and just being more mindful. I think in just general areas of my life. But at some point, I was like, I kind of hit this like plateau where I'm just like, is this kind of it? Like, is this all that there kind of is for me? I feel like I still kind of have symptoms lingering from this autoimmune disease that I'm almost past it, but I feel like there's still something there. I feel like I have this like low grade, like, I don't know, like I just feel like there's more for my life. I really felt this like there was more for my life and I don't know how to get it. And really being introduced to this way of approaching the body with other people, but also having others work with my system, I was like, this is what I was looking for, like inviting me deeper within myself to like continue to unravel and unfold so I can tap into more of myself and therefore experience more fulfillment, more joy, express all of who I am, like just experience the juice of life, I would say. Like this has allowed me to take my life to the next level and beyond in infinite ways. I would just say that.
Whereas like before, and I'm not putting words into your mouth, but for me, I resonate so deeply with what you just said that like before there was an upper limit on like I had anxiety before this. Like I tell people all the time, like before I got adjusted, you would not recognize the person that I was. Like truly, the transformation that's happened for me. But it was like I was so focused on like the anxiety or the back pain or I want these things to go away so badly that I didn't even start breathing into the possibility of like what's next. Of like, oh, if my anxiety can slow down, maybe I can also be like really optimistic or hopeful or positive or whatever it was. And then it's
Yes.
like once you pass that threshold of like I think that the way that the world basically is kind of set up is like we have all these. I mean, Don Miguel Ruiz talks about this. He's like, we have 18 years of life experience of conditioning. You turn 18, and then all of a sudden you're looking back and you're like, some stuff I like, some stuff I don't, but we forget that the next step moving forward is creating what we do like. And I think that's what this does. And it taps into something so infinite within us that it's we can't plan what comes up during an adjustment. We
Mhm.
can't plan what comes up during the week, but life happens for us and our energy field starts integrating these experiences. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I want to move in this direction. I think I want to do this. And it's just so much more alignment within my life and my world. But
And I like what you said about like what's beyond symptoms, basically.
yes,
I literally had a conversation like 2 days ago with one of our clients. She had just gone through our reset program. She's 17 and her parents have gone through a divorce. It's been a really, really difficult time reconnecting with both of her parents, but also expressing how she's feeling through this time. Also, going through like school and friends and life in general. And so that during this month, a lot of those symptoms that she presented with that she really wanted support with have basically like gone away. And so I said to her, I said, so now that a lot of this stuff is really integrated at this point, and we're always going to be moving towards a new level of balance with that. I said, what's next for you? Like, really think about like what you want now from your life, because most people come here and they're like, they have all these symptoms that they've tried everything for,
yes,
or they're on a healing journey and they're like, I know that integration can support my healing journey. Oh my gosh, you guys are in Chattanooga. Oh, perfect. I'm going to
yeah.
book in. But at some point, it's like you're only focused on the problem and not like lifting your head to see what's beyond that, because symptoms are just inviting us
Yeah.
inward. And it's just the beginning of the journey towards a deeper connection to self,
Mhm.
essentially. And then again, therefore, you experience more of life, which is what everyone wants, happiness. Like everyone wants to live life, like to
Yeah.
live.
And I think like our client pool, like a lot of the reason why people come in here is symptom based, and a lot of reasons why people stick around for like 8+ years is simply because they're like, there's always something more to this. There's always more of me that I can explore. There's always more for me. And I think that in the beginning, I'm like, whenever people came in, I'm like, I wish we were starting to attract people that were like, you know what, I'm ready to just take that next step in my life because in the beginning, it's all about slowing down those old patterns, which we do all the time. And then that opening up new patterns, creating new patterns in your life, I'm like, that piece is infinite. And that's the piece that I really love chatting with people about the most. But I was thinking maybe we could share 5 qualities that people start adapting to when they start regulating, because I think we know that as we start regulating, symptoms slow down. We know that. But what happens next for people like you, like me, that are kind of on the other end of the symptomatology, so to speak, and we're coming
Hold
in
on.
here.
I also want to say this about symptoms
Yeah.
is that it's it's not that they're gone for us. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
want to reframe what symptoms mean, because I mean you've just gone through a period where you had like this lingering headache.
Mm.
I've had like just random episode of like neck pain or something like that. And it's not that I'm backtracking by any
Yeah.
means. My body is teaching me something that basically my soul is teaching me that I need to shift in my life. Like that's why certain areas of the body manifest in that way. It's all divine and intended, truly. Like the knee, if you have issues with the knee, usually it's like I'm not bending to different areas of my life, like I'm too rigid. That's what our knees are for. So that's just an example, but symptoms are beautiful and they're always for us, and we're always supposed to be paying attention to them and listening to them because they're inviting us inward.
I have a hilarious analogy. I sat down with like a military dude several months ago at this point, and he gave me this analogy. He was like, yeah, whenever he said, somebody who is always aggressive, always kind of getting in fights, in his line of work, basically, he was saying it's just like a lot of, he was like, to be punched or to do things like that is not out of the norm, basically. But he was like, when people start becoming more, he left the military after he became a little bit more centered, a little bit more focused on his peace and his surroundings. He's like, if somebody were to punch me in the face back then, it would have just been like, no big deal. This is always happening to me. Now, if somebody were to punch me in the face, I'm like, whoa, what have I been doing? Why did I attract this? Why is this coming? And he was like, I didn't realize how often I was like being punched in the face, like every single day, that all these symptomatology was becoming something that he's like, why is this happening to me? But then it happens one time from a regulated state, and you're like, whoa, I gotta look at this. And I feel like that's exactly how I feel. Yeah, I know. I was like, whenever he said it, I was like, that's exactly it.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Shout out to him. But I think that whenever symptoms come up for us now, it's like you said, a headache, neck pain, something like that. I'm not necessarily like, ugh, I want this gone. I'm more like, this is really interesting. This is really out of nowhere for me,
Being
so to speak.
curious. So
Yeah.
just being curious is really the mindset we've adopted at this point, which is, I think, the best place to be. And everyone gets there at some point.
Yeah.
But instead of like being mad about it, it's being open to what it means.
Yeah, and I think too, like whenever stuff comes up for us too now, it's not like, I think that in the beginning, I'm like, I want to get over this, I want to move through it, and a piece of me would move through it. Like I would move through it, and then it would come back up again in patterns and in cycles. And now when things come up for me, I'm like, let's get to the root. And then a process like this, it's like, let's not only get to the root, but I know this is being held in other parts of my body.
Yeah.
And
my whole
yeah,
body.
yeah, there's tension somewhere going on in my body, and to have somebody else working with your system and allowing you to start opening up in those spaces where you're really, really closed and tight that you might not even be aware of. Like,
Which is a blind spot. She talks about blind spots often. That's
yeah,
what it is. Like something you can't see because it's in your subconscious. But as a facilitator, we're working with your system and we can become aware of these blind spots, therefore allowing you to become aware of those blind spots, which is
the
everything.
point, yeah.
Everything. So let's go over the qualities. What
Yeah.
would be the first one you would say?
The first quality I said was, I think we're talking about it with trust. Like when symptoms come up, again, that word, like we don't really use that word like casually with each other.
Signals? Yeah.
Yeah, like, but I'm gonna use it in this language right now. But when stuff comes up for us, like I trust so deeply in my body, not because I've moved through all these crazy things in the past, not because I am doing this work, but like literally everybody's body has this incredible capability to heal and to thrive. And I've seen it time and time again for myself and so many other people, that when stuff comes up now, I trust so deeply that this is temporary. Like this is happening right now. And the more that I can actually sit with it right now in that trust, in that loving awareness, I actually move through it so much quicker than in the past whenever I would try to avoid it, run from it, push it to the side. So when stuff comes up, I'm just like so trusting. Like
Do you think that the sessions help you to trust deeper? Is that what you would say?
yeah, I think that that's been a big piece. That's like over a long-term thing, because I think in the beginning it was like kind of, I had to see it to believe it sort of thing. And I remember coming in even whenever I worked at the front desk for Matt, and people would be telling me all these amazing things, and I'm just like, really? And then like as you stick around long enough, you start hearing it from every single person, and then you start to experience yourself that like you will feel shifted after the session. And I'm not saying that all your symptoms are gonna go away after one session, but something in your cellular biology shifts. So I trust the trajectory of that, because that's really all I believe we're doing. Is when someone comes in here, they're in a pattern, we start shifting, and then all of a sudden we start moving in the direction of healing, like wholeness, healing, thrival, whatever it might be. Whereas before, if our body's in that tension pattern, it likes the familiar, so it will go into deeper tension patterns. So for me, I just trust that after a session, I will feel shifted, not necessarily completely healed.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that we're like, a lot of our culture has been conditioned to not trust in our bodies in general. So that's a huge shift when someone comes here, because our culture and what we really believe at Rev is that we have this infinite trust in the body's ability to heal itself and to thrive and to do everything that it needs to do. It really needs nothing. It's the most intelligent system ever that has existed, and science can't even create like pieces of it because it's that infinite and that amazing. And we believe that deeply with all of our beings when we're working with the system. So that is very rare for people, I think,
Yeah.
to come to a place and then begin to trust in their own body and be like, oh, like,
Mhm.
okay. And then when you move through a symptom without having an outside in approach, like a medicine or anything like that, where it's just like we're working with your system, then you gain confidence that, oh, I can do this with other
Yeah.
things. When anything else comes up, it's like, oh, okay, like I remember this worked before.
Yeah.
Now I'm just going to connect deeper in and just allow my body to do what it needs to do and listen to what it's saying basically and shift in my life, and it'll go away because there's no need for the signal anymore.
And like for real, you and I have been in some seriously like maybe emergent situations together. And if we would have acted out of a what's the opposite of trust? Like distrust, I don't know, in our
Fear.
bodies. Fear, yeah. I think that the whole situation could have gone completely differently, but I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, and we're like, we are going to be trusting in this. And everything always has a way of working out. Like, if you can trust even on those micro levels, you can start to trust on macro levels too. So it's kind of a ripple effect, I would say.
I love that.
But trust is absolutely the first thing because I see people transform in that day in and day out where they think that their body's failing them, they have to quit, it's too hard, too much, and then all of a sudden hope happens and then they start moving in the direction of trust and then all of a sudden time and time again we see people just evolving.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then adaptability is the second one.
Yeah.
I love this one. This is huge for me, especially I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, I have a life outside of all of those things too. I love to have fun, do all the things, and I want to be able to handle all of these things in my life and more that's coming. Like stress is never not going to come our way because it's designed to help us to grow and evolve. So it's going to like push our boundaries and like have us like come outside of our comfort zone, so to say. And having a higher bandwidth or a bigger capacity allows us to evolve and grow and basically add to the complexity of our vibrational matrix. And so for me, this is like crucial for
This is
like the
everything.
integration sessions is allowing my system to integrate everything that I'm holding. That way my nervous system is freed up to be more adaptable to handle new things that are coming because it's inevitable. Like new
Yes.
things are always going to be coming because again, it's for us.
I think like and what you're saying, like a lot of people will come in and they'll tell us really amazing things that they want. Like they want a better relationship with their partner or like more whatever in their
money.
business, more
Yeah.
money. Yeah, like all these things. And I think about that and I'm like, with every experience comes more experience. And you can call it stress, you can call it whatever it is, but it's all about that bandwidth again of just like once we start increasing like that 10-pound weight, turning to a 20-pound weight, turning to a 30-pound weight, all of a sudden when minor stressors come up in our lives, we're not freaking out about them anymore because again, the first principle was trust. We trust.
Mhm.
And then the second thing too, like we have more adaptability. Like when things happen in our lives, it doesn't completely derail the rest of my day. Like I have a lot of tools, a lot of stability within, a lot of really great support community, and I just kind of am guided by this internal sense of like this is for me. And I
Mhm.
think people say like too, like with stress, and there's another word, eustress, like good
Mhm.
stress for your body too. It's like maybe the situation, hanging out with your kids or something like could be stressful, but it's also like you're bonding with them, you're having experiences with them, and that's actually increasing your adaptability. So now when stress actually happens, sometimes I will even say to Lauren, I'm like really excited about what's on the other side of this because I know that my body, my biology is gaining something from this. Like I'm gaining experiences that's going into me, and what's going to come out is going to be completely different.
I love that. And so for people coming in, they usually are feeling very stuck.
Yeah.
And that means they have a very small bandwidth because there's so many things stored in their system that they haven't processed, they haven't worked through because maybe they don't have the tools.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't even know it's stored within their system. 95% of us is subconscious. But that feeling of being stuck, usually it is different for everyone.
Yeah.
I would say it feels like I'm snapping more on my kids. I feel like I'm really overwhelmed, like I can't take anything else kind of thing. Or I just feel like when something new happens, like I can't experience it because I'm just so worried about what's next, or I feel like I'm frozen, like in a freeze state. I
Yeah.
actually hear that a lot, a freeze state that's stuck in sympathetic tone. But that's really what this process is allowing you to open up that capacity to handle more, but also to experience, again, I'm going to keep saying this, life, like to like
Yes.
live
Yeah.
your life versus feeling like I just can't, like I'm stuck. Like
Uh,
that's what it is.
I think adaptability probably should have been the first one, but we'll move on to the third.
All of them are,
Yeah,
all of
they kind of
them.
like build on each
Actually, I
other.
think the third is my biggest.
Oh, then maybe you should lead us on the third.
Okay. Awareness is like, to
Yeah.
me, the ultimate reason why I still get sessions done.
Yeah,
I
me
would
too.
say, like, I mean, all of them that we have listed that we're going to go over are like, yep, yep, yep. But awareness is like my biggest thing, because like when you can become more like self-aware or just aware of your thoughts, why you feel a certain way, then you can change things. Like
Mhm.
for me, I just, again, I just always want to be my best self and live my best life, and I'm in my own way when I'm not doing that. And so for me, I'm just like, what's preventing me from experiencing more love? What's preventing me from experiencing more success, maybe in my business, or just more expression of myself? Like there's old things that I have adopted when I was younger, like
Mhm.
0 to 7 were completely subconscious. So like you're this little sponge, and everyone around you, you've picked up their way of living because you're this little being, and you're like, oh, that's how I love someone. That's how I interact with somebody. Like you just pick it up because that's what you do as a child. Like that's how we learn. But then eventually, when you become awake to that you can live a different life, you kind of look at all these things, like you were saying, of just like, why do I kind of feel weird when I'm doing this thing? Or why am I kind of angry in this moment? Like my spouse is doing this. Why am I mad about it? There's no reason why, no logical reason why he's making me mad right now or she's making me mad. It's something that I'm running this pattern and it's not serving me anymore. So the more I can become aware of these patterns that are no longer serving me, the more I can change them. And the moment you become aware, that's when it can be freed from your system and integrated, adding to the complexity of your vibrational
Literally.
matrix, increasing your consciousness, and therefore, like your life is expanded.
That was literally so well said, Monica.
Anything else to
Yeah,
add to the
I like
awareness
don't
piece?
have a lot to add to that. That was actually perfectly said. Like awareness for me is actually the number one for me as well. Like I said, moving through things and seeing my life and realizing what patterns are mine, what needs are mine, what's old, what's new, what do I want. I think you nailed that one completely,
And
actually.
also, it's like even something simple, like if that's like maybe high level
Yeah.
conversation, someone comes in and they have this like really bad pelvic pain. It's like, why? And so that's why you can become more aware of why. You don't even need to know, obviously, with the issues. Like people are on get their sessions done, they're like, well, I don't even know why I had that pelvic pain, but it's completely gone now. That's great. But there's going to be other things that you want to be aware of because it's going to help you move through it faster. So even just like asking this questions in your life of like, why?
I have a really quick story. Someone came in, this was probably 2 years ago at this point, and she was in desperation. She was like, I have not worked out in the past like 7 weeks. And I'm like, she's very fit. And like, we're chatting, and I'm like, why though do you need to work out basically? Like, what does this do for you? She's like, if I don't work out, I'm gonna get fat, and my whole family's fat, and blah, blah, blah. And we do our reassessments like 4 weeks after that first visit. I was like, let's like get you regulated, and then we'll have these conversations. But we sit down, and I'm like, so we'll say Olivia for this point, but I'm like, Olivia, so have you worked out? She has more energy. She's feeling better, not so depressed. I'm like, so have you worked out? She was like, funny thing you should ask. I realized I was working out for all the wrong reasons. And instead, I just started walking in my garden every day, and I've literally lost 5 pounds. And I'm like, all like the awareness of that going up that ladder and it's on the wrong wall type of analogy. I'm like, all she had to do was just shift back into alignment, into her perspective, and now she's going up this ladder and it's in total alignment. She lost weight, she's feeling great, and I'm just like, snaps.
And awareness is also listening to your body. I was just having a conversation with someone and she's like, huh, interesting what happens when you listen to your body. Like I took 2 naps yesterday. I never nap. Like I never slow down. And she's like, I woke up today. I feel lighter. I feel more free. I feel more energy.
What do you know?
Imagine that. That's awareness though, is like listening to your body of like, I really need to lay down. I need to rest today. Like I can't be pushing, pushing, pushing today, because if I keep doing that, then I'm going to be stuck in this hole that I've been in for
Yes.
15 years. Let's try something different. Let's pay attention to our body. Let's become more aware. So that's why these sessions are everything to me. It's like, I just want to be more aware
Yes.
of what's holding me back in so
Yeah.
many different ways.
And I think that leads us to our fourth point. Like clarity, sense of self is really just the vibe here, but I think that comes from awareness because a lot of our lives we live on autopilot, and we talk to people like 95% of everything going on happens on autopilot or subconsciously. We don't even think about it. So we live our lives and we become this person essentially, and there becomes a point where we ask ourselves, who am I? What am I doing here? And is this in alignment? And we start looking around, and when people start to live from that sense of self or that sense of clarity, their purpose, their passion, I think that's whenever things start lining up really beautifully for them. Where before it was like we had to go up all these obstacles because we were moving in the wrong direction, so to speak. Where now that we're open, we're more receptive, all of a sudden the obstacle becomes the way, excuse me. But sense of self and clarity, because I think that whenever a lot of stuff comes up, like chaos is interesting because if our body is stuck and stagnant and in these old patterns, chaos actually feels extremely scary. But whenever we're actually in a stable, grounded, adaptable state, chaos can actually be really, really exciting for our systems. And actually, that's when we manifest the best things because everything is up in the air. But it really has to come from a sense of like, I know who I am. And in this moment, whatever chaos is going on outside of me, I've got clarity. I'm really
I
grounded.
love that. And that's kind of the same, I would say, as awareness is like,
Yeah.
the more aware you are, the more clear you are
Yeah.
of like your path and where you're going. And that's why a lot of people come. Actually, interesting enough, people say that when we're like, at the end of this, like, what do you want to see for yourself? Like, let's say, who does Erin want to be? Like, let's say Erin's sitting in front of me and she's like, well, I like this pain gone. I'd like more energy and I would just like to make decisions faster. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like decisions are really hard for me. Like, this is actually something
Yes.
common that we
Yeah.
see. And that's really what happens through this process. Yes, the symptoms go away, but also decisions become so easy because you're in alignment, you're connected to who you are, and it's just, you're clear. You're like, yep, nope. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
just like,
Yes.
so no energy is expended in this like middle space of like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that middle space is like we're disconnected and we're hearing what we should be doing from all these other people when it's really, what do you want? Like, what does Erin want in this moment? Yep, nope. Easy, clear,
Yes. Yeah.
clear as day.
And it makes sense that people wouldn't feel that way immediately whenever we have a lot going on in our bodies. Like, I didn't know a yes or a no in my body until I really got clear, because then all of a sudden from this clear space, if it felt like a yes or it felt like a no, I had so much like going on that I was like, I don't know anything. And from the past, it's not telling me anything. The future is really unclear. That I started to meditate and do things like that. But from that clarity space, it's like decisions are like yes, no. If it's not a yes, it's a hell no.
And a quick tip we'll just go over is like a yes and a no of
Yeah.
how would you tell them how to, because they're like, what's that?
Yeah. That's a really good question. And I think that even just like in our line of work, sometimes like we'll call each other and we only have like, hey, Monica, I got 3 minutes. I got to talk to you really quick. It's a really big decision, blah, 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 blah. And it's like both of us need to be in our power to be able to have a conversation like that. But in the beginning, I remember like people, if that would happen, I would be like, oh, I need to think about it for 3 days. And now whenever something comes up, I feel into the energy of it because my body, it can move through my body now. And I can feel that in my body of like, I know what a yes feels like because I've experienced yeses time and time again, and I know what a no feels like because I've experienced no's time and time again. But sitting with the question, sitting with whatever it is in front of you, and just being like, does this lead me towards my greatest truth? Does this lead me towards a yes? Does this lead me towards more openness? Does this lead me towards more expansion? And you really can only do that if you are in a state of clarity.
Or you might say no because it's
Or, yeah.
scary. But an easier way before getting there, I would say, is this little practice that anyone can do, but just sitting in your chair right now as you're watching this, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to say, like, let's just use my name for example, and I'll pretend like this is what I'm doing to begin this process. My name is Monica, right? Is my name Monica? Yes. I feel that yes throughout my whole body. Then I ask myself, is my name John? No. And I actually feel this like shift of energy in like my midsection that's like, nope, like that's not me. So even just like, it sounds really silly, but play with this and maybe even use a hilarious name so that you literally feel this huge contrast in your body. So that in situations like she's talking about, that full body yes. Like you're like, yep, I've been here before. I know my truth. Or nope, like my name is not Julio or whatever it may be. Nope, that's not my name. Or that's not the decision for me. That's not going to lead me towards my greater truth. So little tools like that are really helpful to get you to bigger truths.
And something like whenever you have a headache, for example, like I was experiencing, I know in those moments to take a beat because I'm actually not feeling very clear. I actually cannot even feel into myself where if we have so much going on, slow that down first. And then these are the next steps. Do we want to move on to
Last
the
one.
last
Last
one?
but not least.
Yeah, last but not least.
Take it away.
Letting go is, I think, one of the most profound things you can do with your life. It's not this sense of just like letting go and laying on the floor and hoping life takes me. And this, it's not like that at all. It's actually an active process of letting go, of just coming from all those other 4 qualities. Whenever we've embodied those 4, we can truly let go. People say let go, let God, like let go, let the universe, whatever it is. But something inside of you knows what to do much more than we know what to do. And even when people ask us about like on the table, like they're like, how's my symptoms or how's my something? I'm like, how is it for you? Because if they can let go of their attachment to an end goal, an end result, actually infinite possibilities actually open up for them in a much more profound way. Like we always say, don't focus necessarily on the how, but the why. And if we know where we're going, we know who we are, we don't necessarily need to know how we're going to get there. So to let go of like the little details in between of like, I got to get this done, I got to be in less pain, I got to do all these things. It's like, let that go just for a little bit because it actually detaches the energy too. We were just talking about this when people say something like, I am going to have headaches for the rest of my life, or I have, a kidney infection. That energy starts impacting our kidneys. It starts impacting the rest of our cells, or the rest of our biology, and our thoughts, our words, our actions, all in alignment will say, is that true? To let that go is actually one of the most powerful things you can do, because if you can let that go, replacing that pattern with trust, the world opens up.
I love that. And letting go literally is what we do on the like people do on the table.
Literally, yeah.
Like letting go of all these old things that
Mhm.
we're running in our body, these old patterns that are holding us back, literally is what the most profound thing I would say on the table. Because when we can let go of that, then we can open up our system to create new things that are actually serving us and working us towards like our highest good, the life of our dreams, like a world of fulfillment and happiness and excitement. So like letting go, that's why it's so hard for people, because it's literally biological that they're
Yes,
holding
yeah.
on to these things and you can't help it. So don't blame yourself that maybe you're holding on to this thing. You're like, can't forgive this person, or I can't let go that I just didn't get that job when I was 17 like I should have, or I should have made that team, or whatever it may be. Letting it go because it's not there anymore, but it's within your system. And so like that's why these sessions are just life changing for everyone. It's just like letting go. And that's why everyone says through this process, they feel lighter. Like
Yeah.
they look lighter because they're letting go of all these things that are holding them down.
I always say, like, if it is not in front of me, it is not within me. Like, if it is not happening in my direct vicinity, it's not something that I'm constantly thinking about, it's not here right now, it's not going to live within me either, because it's just taking up space like rent free. And whenever we can finally let that go, we become the person in charge. Like, we become the creator, because I get to decide if that's going to be affecting me still. So letting go is, I have so much to say on that, but I mean, in short, I think that is what it is.
Yeah, that is what it is. And that's possible for everyone.
Yeah.
And so in summary,
Yeah.
yes, we still get adjusted.
Often.
And I will continue to always get
Always.
adjusted. I get asked all the time, like, when will you stop? It's not about that for me. It's not a question I ask. This just really serves my journey
Yeah.
deeply. And my journey is just continuing to go deeper within myself, to be my best self, to live my best life. This is an escalated process to help me process all the things that are going on in my day, all the things that I've stored from my past. Like, let's let go of all of that
Yeah.
stuff, but open my system up to handle all of that life is bringing me, so I can, again, be my best self, live my best life.
When people ask me that, I'm honestly, if I still get adjusted or how long I'm going to be getting adjusted, I'm like, as long as I want to keep evolving, as long as I want to keep reaching higher states of my own personal authenticity and being. And I think that's never ending. So forever.
Forever.
I even had a client tell me recently, she was like, I don't care if I have to come to your house. She's a little bit older than me, not much, but she was like, until one of us passes away, basically, like, I will be getting adjusted for the rest of my life. And this is a woman who came in with physical stuff in the beginning, mental, emotional stuff, and now she's on this like soul's journey. And she's like, I get it now. I will be adjusted every week for the rest of my life. And I'm like, Me too. I'll have what you're having.
Bingo. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you have been getting sessions done, we would love to hear how your journey started and where you're at now. It's always very interesting for us to hear kind of where you've been, where you're going, so we can hold space for you. And if you've enjoyed this and learned something, please like, please share this, please subscribe. We have so much more content coming and we can't wait to share more with you.